The grand halls of the Zareth Dominion Academy glowed with golden light. Tall crystalline pillars stretched high, covered with markings of past wars and victories. The air hummed with pride as young warriors trained to become defenders of their empire. Among them stood Verakesh, one of the most promising students of her generation. Her scales shone with a faint blue hue, and her golden eyes burned with ambition. Verakesh had always believed that her kind, the Zirath, were the strongest warriors in the galaxy. They had conquered planets, broken fleets, and forced entire species into surrender. To her, their power was unmatched. She could not imagine any race ever standing against them. One evening, after combat training, the students gathered in the Hall of Records, a vast chamber filled with floating holograms of ancient battles. The old warlords often came there to tell stories, passing down their experiences to the young. That night, an elder named Warlord Rakon took the stage. His deep voice filled the hall as he spoke of old times. There was a war, he began, long before most of you were born. A war not against great machines or advanced empires. It was against a small, fragile race and the humans. The hall grew quiet. Some students tilted their heads, curious. Others looked confused. Verakesh frowned slightly. Humans? She whispered to her friend beside her.
What are those?
Her friend shrugged. Just some old extinct species. Weak creatures, I think. But Rakon continued, his eyes dark with memory. Do not let their size or softness fool you. They fought with a strength beyond reason. When their worlds burned, they did not surrender. When their armies fell, they fought with their hands. When their skies were filled with enemies, they still found a way to strike back. Some students chuckled quietly. Verakesh could not help but smirk. Old stories, she said softly. Every old soldier likes to make his enemies sound great. It makes their own victories seem more glorious. Rakon looked directly at her. His eyes were tired but sharp. You laugh, young one. But those humans, they were no myth. I saw them. I fought them. And even now I still hear their battle cries when I close my eyes. The room fell silent again. The old warlord lifted his clawed hand and projected an image. A hologram appeared, a small group of humans in armor standing in a ruined city. They looked exhausted, their faces covered in dust, yet their eyes burned with something fierce, something unbroken. They called it the Battle of Ceres Prime, Rakon said. We expected them to surrender in hours. They fought for 20 days. Every time we thought they were finished, they rose again. The young warriors stared. Even Verakesh felt a strange chill. The humans in the hologram did not look powerful, but there was something in their expressions, a silent strength that she could not explain. If they were so strong, Verakesh said loudly, breaking the silence, then where are they now? Why do we not see them among the stars anymore? Rakon sighed softly. Because sometimes strength is not enough to survive. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and their world was dying. But even when they fell, they left behind a lesson. Never underestimate a species that refuses to give up. Verakesh laughed lightly. Old stories and lost ghosts. I prefer real warriors, those who win, not those who simply endure. A murmur of laughter spread among the young students. Rakon did not argue. He only gave her a long, unreadable look. Perhaps one day, he said quietly, you will meet one, and then you will understand. But Verakesh only smiled with pride. Humans are extinct, old one. You're chasing shadows. Later that night, Verakesh walked through the Academy's outer grounds. The stars glittered above like silver dust. Her training armor still carried faint scorch marks from the day's sparring, but she barely noticed. Her mind replayed the Elder's words again and again. Humans, fragile creatures, short-lived, primitive. Yet somehow, their name was remembered even centuries later. Why? What made them so special? She sat on a bench beneath a tall energy spire, looking at the constellations. Somewhere far beyond those stars, the old wars had taken place. She wondered for a moment what those humans had felt in their final days. Fear, anger, or that strange hope that the Elder spoke of. She shook her head. Nonsense, she whispered. They were weak. That's all. The next day, during advanced combat simulations, Verakesh faced one of the Academy's battle AI systems. The holographic opponents were modeled after various species. The fast-moving Orlans, the armored Koresh, the telepathic Quarians. She defeated them one by one, her movements sharp and precise. At the end, the instructor activated a final simulation. Opponent, human, modeled after historical data. Virakesh blinked in surprise. Humans, you have data on them? The instructor nodded. Very limited data, but enough to simulate their tactics. The simulation began. A human soldier appeared on the field. Simple armor, no shield generators, no flight systems. Just a rifle and determination. Virakesh attacked first. The human dodged, rolled, and used cover intelligently. His movements were not perfect, but every motion had purpose. He fired few shots, each one calculated. He didn't rush. He didn't panic. He waited for openings. The duel lasted much longer than she expected. Her usual tactics didn't work as well. The human kept adapting, using the environment to his advantage. When she finally defeated the simulation, she found herself breathing heavily. The instructor looked impressed. Not many finished that one so quickly. Humans were unpredictable opponents. Their greatest weapon was not strength, it was creativity. Virakesh stood silent for a moment, watching the simulation reset. The digital human saluted once before fading away. She felt something unusual. Not fear, not respect, but curiosity. Maybe those stories were not all lies, she muttered. Days turned into weeks. The academy prepared for an upcoming demonstration, where the best students would showcase their skills before the High Council. Virakesh was chosen as one of them, representing her training unit. Her confidence was unshaken, but she noticed that more and more elders spoke of the old wars lately. The word human kept appearing in their discussions, always in quiet tones, always with a trace of memory that she could not understand. During one gathering, she overheard two instructors speaking privately. I heard there are still traces of them, one said softly. Impossible, the other replied. The last human colonies were destroyed long ago. Perhaps. But sometimes, ships appear. Old designs. No AI, just silence. Then they vanish again. Virakesh pretended not to listen, but the thought stayed with her. Ships with no AI. Pilots of flesh and blood. Could such a thing exist in the modern galaxy? It seemed ridiculous. Yet somehow the idea made her chest tighten with anticipation. That evening, Rakon found her again in the Hall of Records. He stood before the same hologram of human soldiers, his gaze distant. Still studying old ghosts, Elder? She asked lightly. Rakon smiled faintly. Perhaps, or perhaps preparing for the day the past returns. Virakesh crossed her arms. If they ever return, I will be ready. I'll show them what true strength looks like. Rakon turned to her, his voice calm but firm. Strength is not only in power, Virakesh. Sometimes it is in the will to stand when the universe says you cannot. She tilted her head. And that is what you saw in them? The elder nodded slowly. Yes, and that is why, even after all these years, their memory still lives. The Zerath conquered many worlds, but only the humans made us question ourselves. Virakesh said nothing. She looked at the hologram again, at those tired, determined faces. They were not beautiful or grand, but there was something alive in their eyes. Something unbroken? She could not name it, but it unsettled her. That night sleep would not come easily. Dreams came instead. Dreams of endless battlefields, burning skies, and a single human soldier standing alone against the dark. Each time he fell, he rose again. His armor cracked, his weapon shattered, yet his eyes never lost their light. When she woke, her heart was racing. She looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the old wars were buried beneath time. But for the first time, Virakesh wondered, what if the humans were not gone? What if the galaxy had simply forgotten them? And what if one day she would be the one to find them again? Several months passed since Virakesh last heard the name human. The Academy had finished its training cycle, and now she served as a junior combat officer aboard the Zerath cruiser Valora. Her pride had grown with every victory. She commanded a small strike squad, known for their precision and speed. The galaxy, to her, was a place of endless conquest, until the day the signal came. It was a quiet morning in orbit around the abandoned planet Epsilon Theta, a world once mined for rare metals but now nothing more than dust and ruins. The planet's surface shimmered faintly beneath the cruiser's hull lights. Sensors showed no life, no heat, no movement, only silence. Virakesh was at the command deck when the sensor officer spoke suddenly. Commander, we are detecting an incoming object. Small vessel, no AI signature, no transponder. The bridge crew turned. A ship with no AI. That was almost impossible. Every starfaring species in the Dominion, used artificial systems for navigation and communication. Without them, space travel was suicide. Identify it, Verakesh ordered. Trying to, it's an old design. Metallic hull, no energy field. Propulsion looks primitive. Primitive? She repeated, frowning. From which race? Unknown, Commander. The object was approaching slowly, steady as a drifting shadow. Verakesh felt a spark of curiosity, mixed with unease. Prepare a patrol shuttle, she said. I'll lead the inspection myself. Minutes later, her shuttle descended through the gray clouds of Epsilon Theta. Dust storms danced below, curling around the jagged ruins of once towering mining stations. Her squad of 6 Zerath warriors sat behind her, their weapons ready. The shuttle shook slightly as it entered the atmosphere. We'll land near the coordinates, Verakesh said through the comms. Stay sharp. If this is an old wreck, we'll salvage what we can. If not, we crush it, one of her soldiers said confidently. Verakesh smiled faintly. Her kind always preferred direct solutions. As they neared the surface, the strange ship came into view. It was small, maybe 20 meters long, made of dull gray metal. Its design was simple, blocky, with no glowing energy lines or graceful curves like Zerath ships. It looked old, perhaps even ancient. The craft rested on a patch of cracked stone near the ruins of a mining station. No signs of life, no heat signatures, only the whisper of wind. Scan for AI, Verakesh said. None detected, replied her technician. No transmissions either. Strange, she muttered. Who would fly something like this? The shuttle landed a short distance away. The squad stepped out, weapons drawn, boots sinking into the gray dust. The air was thin but breathable. The planet had long lost most of its atmosphere, yet faint traces of oxygen remained. Verakesh approached the strange vessel. The hull bore deep scars, impact marks, laser burns, and strange circular holes that looked like old battle wounds. She ran a claw across the metal. It was cold and rough. Suddenly her comms flickered. Identify yourselves. The voice was calm, firm, and carried a tone of quiet authority. It wasn't a Zerath voice. It wasn't synthetic either. It was organic. A living being. Her squad froze. Verakesh's eyes narrowed. This is Commander Verakesh of the Zerath Dominion. Identify yourself, Blent. Then the voice came again. You have entered human recovery space. Leave now. The air seemed to freeze around her. Every member of the squad turned to look at her in disbelief. Human? Whispered one soldier. That can't be. It's a trick, another said quickly. Some scavenger using an old name, but Verakesh's pulse quickened. The word human echoed in her mind, the same word the elder had spoken, the same name she had mocked. Activate scanners, she ordered. Find the source of that signal. The scanners swept across the wreck. For a moment, nothing. Then a faint energy reading appeared near the ship's rear hatch. A shape moved. Out of the shadows stepped a figure clad in worn gray armor. The armor was old but functional, patched with different metals and markings. A small flag, faded and torn, was printed on the shoulder, a blue circle of stars and a single white emblem in the middle. The being walked forward slowly, holding a rifle across his chest. When he reached the open ground, he stopped. His visor reflected the pale sunlight hiding his face. By the stars, one of the Zerath whispered. It's alive. Verakesh stepped forward, standing tall. Identify yourself, she repeated. You claim to be human, prove it. The figure's voice came again, calm and clear. Name, Captain Elias Ward, United Earth Defense Command. Her squad shifted uneasily. None of them had ever heard that name before, but something in his tone made them hesitate. Humanity is extinct, Verakesh said. You are either lying or mistaken. Then you've been taught wrong, Elias replied. We don't die that easily. The words hung in the air like thunder. One of Verakesh's soldiers stepped forward, raising his plasma rifle. Surrender your weapon, he barked. You are surrounded. Elias didn't move. His visor turned slightly toward the soldier. Then in a smooth motion he lifted his rifle and fired once. A bright flash of energy shot through the air, hitting the ground near the Zerath's feet. A warning shot, not a kill. You don't want to do that, he said quietly. The Zerath growled, angered, but Verakesh raised a hand to stop him. Her instincts screamed that this human was dangerous, not because of his weapon but because of his confidence. He stood like someone who had seen every kind of battle and survived them all. "You are trespassing in Zerath territory," she said carefully. "If you surrender peacefully, we will not harm you." Elias tilted his head slightly. "You think I came here to fight you? Then why are you here?" she demanded. He looked past her at the ruins around them. "To find something that was lost," he said simply. "A memory. A home." Virakesh frowned. His tone was calm, almost sad. It confused her. No warrior she knew spoke like that. "This world is empty," she said. "There is nothing left to find." "You're wrong," he replied. "There's always something left, and even if it's just the truth." Her soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. The human's words were strange, but they carried a weight that none of them could ignore. "Commander," one whispered to her, "let us take him in. The High Council will want to see this creature." Virakesh nodded slowly. "Agreed, human, you will come with us." Elias didn't move. Instead, he pressed a button on his wrist panel. The ground beneath them trembled slightly as several hidden drones rose from the ruins. Small battered machines, old but still operational. They circled him like silent guardians. "I can't do that," he said softly. "I have people to protect." "People?" she repeated. "There are more of you?" He didn't answer directly. "You should leave, Commander. This planet remembers things you've forgotten." Her soldiers raised their weapons again. The tension grew heavy. The air shimmered faintly with heat from their plasma rifles. "Last warning," Virakesh said, trying to sound calm. "Stand down or we will open fire." For a long moment, no one moved. Then Elias lowered his rifle. Slowly, he turned his head toward her and said in a quiet voice, "I used to think your kind were myths too." Before anyone could react, a flash erupted from his armor, a shockwave of pure kinetic energy. The blast knocked the Zerath soldiers backward. Their scanners went dark. Communication lines cut out instantly. When Virakesh rose from the ground, dust filling the air, the human was gone. Only footprints led toward the distant ruins. "He escaped," one soldier shouted. "Should we pursue?" "No," Virakesh said slowly, still catching her breath. "He didn't attack to kill. He wanted us to leave." She stared at the footprints disappearing into the mist. Something deep inside her, the pride, the certainty, began to crack. The way he moved, the calm in his voice, the precision in his actions, all of it felt exactly like the legends. "Commander?" one of her soldiers asked. "What was he?" Virakesh looked toward the gray horizon. "A survivor," she said softly. "A ghost of a forgotten war." Back aboard the cruiser, the council demanded her report. Many officers dismissed her claim as error or illusion, but when the technicians analyzed the data, they found something strange. The ship's metal matched ancient Earth alloys. The symbols on the human's armor matched records that hadn't been seen in over 2 centuries. Virakesh said nothing during the debate. She only stared out the viewport at the planet below. Somewhere out there, among the ruins, a single human was walking beneath the dust-filled sky. And for the first time in her life, she understood the Elder's warning. "You'll know when you meet one. Then you'll understand." Now she did. The human's voice still echoed in her mind, calm, defiant, unbroken. "We don't die that easily." The days after the strange encounter on Epsilon Theta passed in uneasy silence. Commander Virakesh tried to continue her duties aboard the cruiser Valora, but her thoughts kept returning to the man in gray armor, Captain Elias Ward. She had met many warriors, but none had spoken the way he did. No threats, no fear, just quiet confidence. It disturbed her. The council, however, dismissed her report. They claimed it was a malfunction, a trick by scavengers, or perhaps an AI ghost mimicking ancient human signals. But Virakesh knew what she saw. The ship, the voice, the flag, the human words, and all of it was real. "He said we entered human recovery space," she whispered one night in her quarters. "Recovery space. That means there are more of them." She stared at the holographic map of the sector. There were hundreds of ruined colonies and forgotten battlefields. If humans had survived, they could be hiding anywhere. A part of her wanted to forget, but another part, a deeper, burning curiosity, pushed her forward. Finally, she made a choice. She would return to Epsilon Theta, with or without orders. The next morning, she gathered her squad quietly. Only her most trusted soldiers came. Tareth, her second in command. Zelna, the technician. And Kor, a heavy trooper with unmatched loyalty. "We are going back," she told them. Tareth frowned. "Commander, the Council forbade—" "The Council is blind," she cut him off. "Something important is down there. I intend to find out what it is." No one argued further. They had seen their commanders fire before. Once she decided something, no one could stop her. The shuttle left the cruiser at dawn, silent and unregistered. Clouds of dust wrapped around it as they descended again toward the ruins. The surface of Epsilon Theta looked even more lifeless than before. The wind howled through broken metal towers. Yet Varakesh's scanner picked up faint energy pulses, small, regular, human-made. "There," she pointed. "In the mining sector. 2 kilometers east, they moved carefully, weapons ready. The ruins formed a maze of fallen structures and half-buried tunnels. Faint footprints still marked the ground, the same ones they had seen before. Varakesh followed them without hesitation. Her pulse quickened. Then she saw movement. A shadow crossed between 2 collapsed walls. She raised her hand, signaling her squad to halt. The shape appeared again, a figure in gray armor standing at the far end of the passage. "Captain Elias Ward," she called. "We need to talk." For a long moment, the figure didn't move. Then slowly, the human stepped into the light. His armor was the same, though now it bore new scratches. His rifle hung at his side, not raised. "You came back," he said quietly. "You Zerath never learn." Varakesh frowned. "I came for answers. Are you truly human? You still doubt?" Elias asked, tilting his head. "You saw me. You heard me. I want proof," she said firmly. "Our records say your kind vanished." "Maybe your records were written by those who wanted us forgotten." The answer struck deeper than she expected. "Then prove it," she said. "Show me your people." Elias's tone hardened. "That's not going to happen." "Why? Are you afraid?" His visor glinted in the dim light. "Not afraid, careful. We learned what happens when others discover us. You destroy what you don't understand." Her soldiers tensed at his words. The air between them felt electric. "We don't destroy without reason," Varakesh said. "Then maybe your definition of reason needs work," Elias replied. Her pride flared. "You dare insult the Dominion?" "No," he said calmly. "I'm reminding you that power without purpose is hollow." The silence stretched. Then suddenly a faint tone beeped in Varakesh's earpiece. Motion sensors triggered. She looked at her wrist display and saw red blips surrounding them. "Ambush!" Tareth shouted. From the ruins above, a group of automated drones descended. Defense machines left from the old mining days. Their systems had reactivated, detecting intruders. Elias spun instantly, aiming his rifle with practiced speed. His shots were precise, short bursts that hit the drone's weak points. Each beam of light from his rifle cut through metal like paper. Varakesh's squad joined the fight. Plasma fire filled the air. Explosions shook the ground. Dust clouds rose, covering everything. One drone dropped toward Varakesh. Before she could aim, a beam tore through it, fired from Elias's rifle. He had saved her. "Stay low," he shouted. "They target motion first." His commands were sharp and tactical. She obeyed without thinking. The two of them moved together, covering each other's flanks. His movements were steady, his eyes scanning constantly. In only a few minutes, the drones lay smoking and broken on the ground. Silence returned. Varakesh stood, breathing hard. Her squad was unharmed, though shaken. She turned to Elias. "You fight well," she said quietly. "I've had practice," he replied, reloading his weapon. She looked around. "Those drones weren't random. Someone activated them." Elias nodded. "I did. They're my perimeter defense." Her soldiers raised their rifles instantly. "You attacked us?" Kor growled. "No," Elias said calmly. "They react to anyone approaching without permission." "You entered my ground again." Varakesh lowered her hand. "Stand down," she told her squad. "He could have killed us easily, but he didn't." Elias looked at her through his visor. "Because killing isn't the answer to everything." They stood amid the ruins, the wind whistling between them. "You still want answers?" Elias asked. "Yes," Varakesh said. "Then here's one. Humanity isn't gone. We're scattered, hidden on old worlds, surviving, rebuilding. We learned the galaxy doesn't want us, so we stopped asking for space in it." Varakesh stared at him. "You live in hiding?" "We live where others don't look," he said simply. "Among ashes, beneath ruins. The Zerath destroyed our cities long ago, but not our will." Her chest tightened. The Dominion doesn't destroy for pleasure. Maybe not now, he said, but once it did. You can't erase that with words. She didn't respond. Deep down, she knew he might be right. You came here alone? She asked after a moment. No, he said. But the others won't show themselves. They don't trust easily, especially not after seeing your kind again. Verakesh wanted to argue, to defend her empire, but something about his calm voice silenced her. Then, without warning, a bright flash appeared on the horizon, the unmistakable burn of Zerath patrol ships entering the atmosphere. Tereth cursed. The Council must have tracked our shuttle. Verakesh's blood ran cold. They'll destroy everything here. Elias's tone turned sharp. Then you'd better choose a side. What do you mean? If they find us together, they'll kill us both. If you leave, they'll think I'm a ghost and move on. But if you stay... She looked at the sky. The ships were getting closer. Her orders were clear. Report and capture. But for some reason she couldn't do it. The human before her didn't look like a threat. He looked like someone protecting what little hope remained. I'm not here to harm you, she said finally. I just wanted the truth. Then remember it, Elias said. Because when they come, I won't hide. He turned and began walking toward the deeper ruins. Wait, she called. You'll be outnumbered. Wouldn't be the first time, he replied without looking back. Her soldiers looked at her anxiously. Commander, what now? She hesitated, torn between duty and curiosity. The skies roared as Zerath patrols neared. Finally, she spoke. We leave now. The shuttle lifted just as the first patrol ship broke through the clouds. From above, Verakesh watched small flashes on the surface. Gunfire, explosions, movement. The human was fighting back alone against her own kind. Something deep in her heart twisted. She remembered the Elder's voice again. They fought even when the skies were filled with enemies, and now she had seen it with her own eyes. When the shuttle returned to the cruiser, the Council demanded an explanation, but Verakesh said only this: We found nothing of value. The planet is empty. The report satisfied them, but her mind was far from peace. Late that night, she stood alone at the viewport staring down at Epsilon Theta, the dusty world hiding impossible courage. You fought alone, she whispered to herself. Why? In the silence, she almost imagined hearing his voice again. Calm, unbroken, proud, because someone has to stand so others can rise later. Verakesh closed her eyes. For the first time, she understood that the legends she mocked were not exaggerated stories. They were warnings and lessons. Verakesh had not stopped thinking about the human she met. The image of Captain Elias Ward stayed in her mind like a scar that would never fade. Each time she closed her eyes, she saw the look in his eyes, steady, calm, unshaken by fear or anger. She had been trained to believe that humans were long gone, a forgotten race of weak creatures who once tried to rule what they could not control. But now that belief felt hollow. The old stories she once laughed at now carried new meaning. Days after the battle, Verakesh requested a solo patrol mission. Her superiors did not question it much. She was known as one of the best young warriors in the Zerath Dominion. But in truth, she had another plan. She wanted to find that human again. The coordinates where the battle had taken place still carried the smell of burned metal. Verakesh landed her scout craft quietly among the ruins. The battlefield was silent, but traces of the human ship were there. Burn marks, broken armor plates. Even the ground where he had stood felt heavier, as if his presence had left a mark on the world. Her scanner picked up faint signals underground. Something mechanical pulsed below the surface. She followed the trail through a collapsed structure, stepping over fallen walls and twisted beams until she found a hidden passage, small, but carefully made. The air inside was cold and smelled of old machinery. When her eyes adjusted to the dim light, she saw something unbelievable, a tunnel lined with human technology. Crude but effective. Wires ran through walls. Old lights flickered to life when she passed. Someone had built this and someone still maintained it. Verakesh walked deeper. Then she heard voices. She stopped behind a metal door and listened. The voices were soft but clear, speaking in human language. Her translator whispered the meaning into her ear. Power cells are stable. We'll need to reinforce the outer wall before the next storm. Elias said he found another route for water supply. Her heart raced. They were here, humans. She pressed a small button on the door panel. It opened slowly and a warm light spilled over her armor. On the other side stood a small community of humans. Men, women, even children. They all froze when they saw her. A tall alien warrior, armored in Zarath metal with eyes that glowed faint yellow. Some humans reached for weapons. Others stepped in front of the children. Before she could speak, a familiar voice came from the crowd. "Stand down," said Captain Elias Ward. He stepped forward, his armor scratched but functional, his face calm as ever. "You came back?" he said, not in anger but with quiet curiosity. Virakesh nodded slowly. I had to see. I wanted to know what kind of people still live here." Elias studied her for a moment, then gestured for the others to lower their weapons. "You'll find no soldiers here. Only survivors." She followed him through the settlement. It was small, maybe a few hundred people. They lived under the surface using old technology to create light, water, and food. Every machine looked patched and repaired 100 times. Every person looked tired but strong. Children ran between the tunnels carrying metal tools or helping elders. Engineers worked on old generators. A small group practiced drills with wooden sticks, their faces focused. Virakesh had never seen anything like it. Her people built cities of crystal and energy. They lived in comfort guided by technology. But here, every human worked with their hands, every action driven by purpose. "How are you still alive?" she finally asked. Elias smiled faintly. "Because we don't know how to stop trying." He led her to a room filled with holographic maps. Some showed ruined planets, others marked with red and blue dots, battlefields long past. On one wall hung a flag, old and torn, with a symbol she didn't recognize. Elias noticed her staring. "Earth's last flag," he said softly. "The place we came from. It's gone now. But we carry its memory. Why hide here?" she asked. "Why not join another race or empire?" "Because that's not who we are," he answered. "Humans don't give up what they call home, even when home is nothing but dust." Virakesh sat quietly. His words carried a kind of strength she couldn't explain. Her people fought for conquest, for glory, but humans, they fought for meaning. Later she watched as the humans shared a meal. Their food was simple, plants and synthetic protein. But they laughed, sang, and told stories as if they lived in a great palace. One old man noticed her watching and smiled. "First time seeing humans, huh?" Virakesh nodded. "First time believing in them," she said softly. The man chuckled. "We're not as mighty as the stories say, but we don't break easy either. Maybe that's what scared the galaxy most." She thought of the elders in the Dominion, the ones who told her that humanity was dangerous, not because of their strength, but because of their will. Now she understood. That night, Elias joined her near the outer gate. Above them, through cracks in the surface, the stars shone faintly. "Do you still think we're just legends?" he asked. Virakesh looked up at the stars, then at him. "No," she said honestly. "Legends are stories. You're something more. You keep moving even when everything says you shouldn't." Elias nodded slowly. "That's what it means to be human." He told her about the final war, the day Earth fell, how fleets burned in the skies, how billions died refusing to surrender, how the survivors spread across the stars, hiding in ruins, keeping the dream of humanity alive. "We fought not because we could win," he said, "but because someone had to stand. If we didn't, no one would remember us." Virakesh listened in silence. His voice carried no pride, only quiet truth. Over the next days, Virakesh stayed among them. She helped repair machines, trained some of their guards, and learned their ways. The humans began to trust her, though some still kept their distance. One evening, she saw a small girl repairing a broken drone. The child's hands were dirty, but her eyes shone with determination. "Who taught you that?" Virakesh asked. "My mother," the girl said with a smile. "She said if something breaks, we fix it. That's what humans do." That simple answer struck Virakesh deeply. To fix, to rebuild, to rise again, that was the heart of humanity. Before she left, Elias met her one last time. "You don't have to go back," he said. "You could stay here. Help us." Virakesh shook her head. "If I stay, the Dominion will come. They'll destroy everything, but I can return and warn them. Maybe I can make them see what I've seen." Elias placed his hand on her shoulder. "Then go with our thanks. Whatever happens, remember this: humans don't vanish, we endure, and one day the stars will remember us again." She nodded. "They already will," she said softly. As she climbed into her ship and rose above the ruins, she looked down at the hidden colony, small lights shining through cracks in the earth. Those lights, she realized, were not just energy sources. They were symbols of life, of a people who refused to die. And for the first time in her life, Verakesh felt truly humbled. She had come seeking truth and found faith instead. That night, as her ship drifted through the void, she recorded a private message for the Dominion archives. "The legends are real," she said. "The humans are not extinct. They are stronger than any empire, because they fight not for power but for hope. We should not mock them, we should learn from them." She paused, looking out at the stars. "I met one. His name is Elias Ward, and I believe he carries the soul of every warrior who ever lived." With that, she ended the recording. For the first time, the warrior who once laughed at human legends felt something far greater than pride. She felt respect, and in that moment a new story began, one not of humans alone, but of what they could awaken in others. The cruiser Valora cut through the cold void of space, its hull humming softly as it approached the outskirts of the Epsilon Theta system. Commander Verakesh stared at the star field, her mind replaying every moment she had witnessed among the hidden humans. The image of Captain Elias Ward, calm, determined, unyielding, had embedded itself in her memory like a guiding flame. She knew what she had to do. The Dominion fleet would soon return, tracking her movements and assuming she was carrying out standard reconnaissance. But she was not returning with information for the High Council. She was going back to warn the humans and, if necessary, to stand with them. As she prepared for descent, her second-in-command, Tereth, approached. His expression was tense. "Commander, are you certain about this?" "If the Council finds out—" "I am certain," she interrupted. "The humans are not a threat, they are survivors, and they deserve a chance to continue." Tereth looked at her with a mixture of fear and admiration. "You realize this is insubordination?" "Yes," Verakesh said calmly. "And yes, I accept the consequences. But some truths are worth the risk." The shuttle detached from the cruiser and glided silently toward the planet's surface. Below, the small human colony flickered like hidden stars beneath the ruins. Lights glimmered in tunnels. Smoke curled from small chimneys. Children ran across open areas carrying tools and learning from their elders. Verakesh's heart tightened. This was not a forgotten race. This was life itself, thriving against impossible odds. She landed near the colony's main entrance. Elias was waiting as if he had expected her. His armor was dusty but intact, and his rifle rested easily in his hands. "You came," he said simply. "I promised I would," she replied. "But there's no time for greetings. The Dominion fleet is returning. They will not be merciful." Elias nodded, his eyes narrowing. "Then we prepare." Verakesh followed him into the settlement. Alarms rang softly, manual sensors detecting incoming ships. Inside, humans moved with quiet efficiency. Engineers reinforced walls, children carried small equipment, and guards checked weapon systems. Each action was deliberate, precise, and filled with purpose. "I thought my people were strong," Verakesh said to herself quietly. "But this is something else entirely." Elias overheard her. "Strength is more than muscles or weapons. It is determination. You may understand that now, but you will truly see it today." Outside, the first Dominion scouts appeared, fast, sleek vessels scanning the surface for intruders. Verakesh climbed a small hill overlooking the settlement, her Zerath rifle ready. She felt a mix of tension and admiration. She had trained for battles, but nothing in her life had prepared her for this. "Commander," Tereth said, "we could fight them from orbit. Why risk the surface? Because if they fire from orbit, the colony is destroyed. I've seen what humans can do. They will hold the ground, but they need time. I will help them." The Dominion scouts began to fire, energy beams slicing through the sky. Elias moved to the forefront, signaling his people to take defensive positions. "Remember what I taught you," he said to the guards. "Stay calm. Use the environment. Every move matters." Verakesh took her position beside him. Her squad joined the humans, firing and coordinating without hesitation. The first clash was chaotic, but she noticed something remarkable. The humans did not panic. Each person moved as if anticipating every Dominion attack, predicting patterns, exploiting weaknesses. The battle escalated. Dominion ships landed, deploying soldiers. Vast numbers of Zerath warriors advanced across the dusty plains. Their weapons burned through metal and stone alike. But the humans held. They fought with ingenuity. Traps, Improvised barriers and careful targeting allowed them to repel squads twice their size. Verakesh watched in awe. These were not stories or myths, these were living legends. Every tactic, every move reflected centuries of survival. She turned to Elias. "How do you do it?" "You're outnumbered. We fight smarter, not stronger," he said. "Numbers alone do not win battles. Will and purpose do." A Dominion squad approached her position. She fired with precision, knocking down 3 warriors before they could reach her. Yet she knew her strength alone could not turn the tide. It was the humans, fighting together with discipline and courage, who kept the enemy at bay. Amid the chaos, a heavy Dominion cruiser began firing directly at the colony's main entrance. The humans could not survive a direct bombardment. Verakesh acted instantly. "Elias, cover me," she shouted. She sprinted across open ground, dodging beams and explosions. Elias and his squad moved alongside her, firing precise shots. Together they reached the defensive barrier. Verakesh used her knowledge of Zerath weapons to disable the cruiser's targeting system temporarily. A series of carefully aimed blasts and electronic interference caused the cruiser to veer off course. "That's it," Elias shouted. "Now hold the line." The Dominion fleet hesitated. Their commander had not expected an alien warrior to side with the humans. Confusion spread among their ranks. Verakesh felt a strange thrill. She was no longer a conqueror. She was a defender. Her pride was not in victory but in honor. She realized something vital. Humans did not fight for conquest. They fought to protect, to survive, to endure, and that made them stronger than any empire that sought to destroy them. She moved to Elias's side, covering him as he directed the human forces. Each move was synchronized. Each shot counted. "They're holding," one of her soldiers yelled. "Not just holding," Verakesh replied. "They're winning, in spirit if not in numbers." And slowly the Dominion forces began to retreat. One by one, ships withdrew. Soldiers fell back. Their arrogance faltered. The humans were not only resisting, they were teaching them a lesson. As the dust settled, Verakesh stood with Elias at the edge of the battlefield. Smoke rose from the ruins and the air was thick with heat and tension. The humans emerged from their hiding places, exhausted but victorious. Children clung to their parents. Elders smiled despite the danger. "You saved us," Elias said quietly. "No," Verakesh corrected. "You saved yourselves. I only helped you stand a little longer." He studied her closely. "You fought with us, for us. You believe in something greater than your empire." That is rare, Verakesh felt the weight of his words. She had spent her life chasing glory, victory, and recognition, and now she understood that true strength was not measured by power, but by courage and will. After the battle, the colony gathered. Elias addressed his people first, then motioned to Verakesh. "This warrior," he said, "stood with us when others would have turned away. She reminded us that even the strongest can learn from the smallest, and that courage is contagious." Verakesh felt heat rise to her cheeks. She was not used to praise, especially from a human, but she felt it deeply, as though she had finally earned something beyond titles or ranks. The crowd cheered, not loudly, but with a steady, determined sound that resonated through the tunnels and halls. The humans did not shout for victory. They shouted for life, endurance, and hope. Later, Verakesh and Elias walked to a quiet overlook. The colony below glowed faintly under the night sky. "Will they come back?" she asked, nodding toward the horizon where Dominion ships had vanished. "Yes," Elias said, "but we'll be ready." "We always are." "I understand now," Verakesh admitted. "Your legends, your stories, they're not about power. They're about something deeper. About the will to stand even when everything says you cannot." He smiled faintly. "That is humanity. We endure and we inspire, not just through strength but through hope." Verakesh stared at the stars. She could see countless worlds, countless fleets, countless histories, and for the first time she realized that humans were not merely survivors. They were teachers of courage, determination, and life itself. As the first light of dawn spread across the planet, Verakesh made a decision. She would not return to the Dominion immediately. She would train, learn, and prepare. And one day she would bring the truth of the humans to her people, not as a threat but as an inspiration. She turned to Elias. "I will carry your story. I will make them remember." Then one day, he said, the galaxy will know what it means to stand as humans do. And maybe, just maybe, others will find courage too. Virakesh nodded. For the first time, she felt a sense of peace she had never known. She had mocked the legends once. Now she stood among them, witnessing their truth. And she knew this was only the beginning. The stars stretched endlessly above them. The galaxy, once full of doubt and conquest, had learned a lesson in resilience. And somewhere among those stars, the spirit of humanity had grown larger than ever before.